Welcome to the 4Q podcast. My name is Sheena Schuy. I have a Bachelor of Psychology, Masters of Counselling, and Masters of Social Work. My aim is to normalise rather than pathologise life. And in this podcast, we talk all things therapy, women's mental health, leadership, and business. So if you're ready to learn some tips, tricks, and hear some amazing stories to really amplify your life and your business, let's get into it. Welcome again to the 4Q podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to ask you the question, is your fear of being seen holding you back? Now, don't get me wrong, I have seen so many kind of recent posts on socials about your fear of being seen and all of that. I actually want to talk about this today because this question is something that I was asking a lot of my business coaching and therapy clients, right? Is your fear of seen holding you back? And whenever I'm, have the same sort of themes coming up with my clients, I always make sure I ask myself the same question because, I want to make sure I'm practicing what I preach, right? And I'm going to admit something to you here. I am afraid of being seen. I was afraid of being seen. I was scared of mentioning that I do business coaching because I do work with a lot of therapy and coaching clients. And I was a little bit worried about, let's say I'm talking about making money, for example, because I really try to help health professionals who have heaps of imposter syndrome around making money, heaps of sort of mindset stuff around making money and serving their clients and stuff, right? And I was worried that if my therapy and coaching clients found my business coaching stuff for health professionals, somehow they might think something ill of me because I do talk about, well, how can we support ourselves with money? Maybe worrying that they're going to think I'm greedy or, somehow that kind of stuff. I noticed that was coming up for me as my example. And I guess the other part of that is that I was scared of my business coaching clients, so my health professionals who often we're analytical, we're evidence-based, we're science-based, we're all about, everything down to cellular structure in the brain and, oppression and social structures. And so I was worried of my business coaching clients finding this podcast, because usually I only promote this podcast on Savasana Collective, my coaching and therapy business, but not my business coaching business, Therapist VA, because I talk about wooey stuff on here sometimes. But that's something that I realized is that I maybe, previously, I didn't show all the parts of me and to be seen because spirituality and things like the law of attraction, the law of assumption, feeling into the different versions of yourself, all of that stuff can seem a bit wooey to people. And sometimes if you don't understand it, people can think that it's the devil or it's evil or something, because I didn't lean into that for a long time because I was worried about people thinking it's wooey and like not evidence-based and why are you leaning into that? But also I was raised in several different religions. So I grew up in a church, a Lutheran church, and in my father's side of the family was very Christian, and I grew up in a Christian-based country, Australia. But my mum's side of the family have Islam and Muslim there, and that's a big part for them. And so I was still worried about family judgments. Family who I might see once a decade, once every 5 years, right? Like it's not the family that I'm close to where I see them quite regularly. I was worried about the family who I hardly even see and how that might affect my mum and all that sort of stuff. So there was that fear of being seen. And I guess also, to some degree, some of my friends not really understanding that spiritual aspect of me. But I think that's the thing, is that in life and in business, if you don't bring all of you to the table, you're holding back on what the potential is out there. So, for example, the more I lean into those parts of me, the more I'm attracting clients, whether it's business coaching clients or whether it's coaching and therapy clients, female leaders and entrepreneurs and that. If they're into that wooey stuff too, like if they, because I think, one of my ethos for Savasana Collective is I mix Eastern and Western philosophy. For Western philosophy very much being evidence-based, science-based philosophy, and Eastern philosophy very much being about energy, spirituality, mindfulness, being in the present moment, collectivist culture. Like we are all one. We are all part of each other. We are all mirrors to each other. And I was really worried that people who have a very Western philosophy wouldn't get that Eastern part, or people who were in an Eastern philosophy sort of would just not really gravitate towards my content. But the more I lean into myself, the better outcomes I have for my clients, the more aligned clients I have. Like it's more natural, it's easier, we get each other, we're more connected, they get better results. I feel energetically lifted when I leave sessions, like we're leaving the sessions with hope, with shifts, much better than when I sort of wasn't leaning into my authentic self, my fully of being seen. And don't get me wrong, I still have those moments where I have friends and family following my business accounts and they shouldn't be. Like they're not my ideal client. I am not speaking to them, right? Like the version of them that they get is a little bit different to like what I have with my clients, because I'm not charging my friends to be friends with me, for example. And, like it's they've known all the different versions of me along the way. And so sometimes, with friends and family, it's hard for them when they follow your business account because they see one slither of your life in that way, whereas your friends know the all of you. And so, they remember the teenage version of you, the hot mess versions of you, the put together versions of you. So that can be hard when people know the ins and outs of your life. And sometimes you're still showing up for your clients in a way that might be different to your friends. So, I have some really rough days sometimes, and I don't fully share that on socials because I don't want negative feedback or trolls or whatever commenting when I'm already feeling down. But that's where the space where my friends are at. And so if my friends are on my socials and they see me rocking up sort of as one version, sort of the happier version of me, knowing that I'm going through some shit right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Is that it's that fear. But I guess that's what I want to sort of recognize with, if you're listening to this and you're resonating with this, is that it is perfectly okay to delete people who are holding you back in business with just, or, block some of your friends and family or remove them from your accounts. And with a kind message, if you're a people pleaser, if you've done our quiz and you're the high achiever, or if you're the people person, you're going to really struggle to deliver this message, this kind but boundaried message of, thank you so much for your support and kindness around my business. Your friends are there to pick up the pieces sometimes. Your friends or family are there when, you're struggling with postnatal, or you're going through a marriage breakup, or you're having health issues, right? They're there for that. And they see all of you. And so they help you pick up the pieces and really help drive you through business during those tough times. But it's okay to say, I love you and I'm so grateful for your support. But I find that I can't fully show up as who I want to be in this space when I have friends and family around. And so just with kindness, just letting you know I'm removing friends and family from this account. But obviously you've got all these other accounts, right? So make sure you have like a personal Facebook and make sure you have a personal business account and it's not all intertwined and together and all of that. So but remember that if you're the high achiever or the people person, you know, the leader and the calming presence are a little bit easier. Those personality types find it easier to actually set a boundary. The calming presence sets the boundary by just basically disappearing. They're just like, I'm just going to hermit. And then I don't have to deal with the awkwardness of boundaries because I'm not really present. Or they just don't really engage in the relationship anyway. So they're not worried about annoying anyone because they're not really engaging in the relationship already. The leader finds setting boundaries good, but sometimes they're a bit harsh with the boundary, like, hey, I'm just deleting you. I love you, but bye. like not much context because they're just like a bit of a boundary bully almost sometimes of like, they're a little bit harsh because they just know what they want. They go after it. And sometimes they do it almost as people with the second thought. Not that they don't think about it. It's just that when they want to get something done, they get it done. That's why they're the leader. So just know that assertive communication is not aggressive, okay? But passive communication is not communication. You want to find that balance where you're not being passive and not really saying what you mean. You're not being aggressive, but you're beautifully in the middle of just kindly assertive, right? So just like the compliment sandwich, when it comes to setting boundaries, I like to start positive, deliver the message, end positively, right? So if you're listening to this and you're resonating, whether it's in life, in business or whatever, I'm also curious of what other areas are you, afraid of being seen for who you truly are? Maybe they're hobbies that you've been wanting to try for ages and you haven't actually done it because you're maybe worried about what people think or what they do. So maybe you've always been interested in belly dancing or burlesque, or you've always wanted to try pole fitness, but maybe you're worried about what people might think, or if you're tagged in some of the photos on the business's website, or hip hop dancing or salsa or whatever it is. Like, are you scared of somebody's going to give you shit for doing it? Because if they're going to give you shit, like, don't get me wrong, there's people banter. It's Australia, like the banter's out of control sometimes. But if they genuinely support you, like, they're not going to make you feel bad for doing that. Same with, are you not leaning into spirituality? Like, are you afraid, just like I was, of I kind of grew up in an organized religion and now I'm more spiritual, and I think the two align perfectly anyway, so it doesn't, it's, to me, it's all the same thing. But if you're like that and maybe you're scared of family members, friends, what they might think, and so you're not leaning into that as much as you want to, or maybe you're holding back from that, how can you find spaces where you're free to be seen in that area and find a way that you can just be you, So I'd really encourage you this week to ask yourself, what am I not leaning into that I've been wanting to lean into for a while now? What is the content even? If you're a business owner, if you're on social media for, your business or, any kind of social advocacy that you're doing, what is it that you want to say that you're not saying? Or what's the thing that maybe is slide 3 of the carousel or is in the middle of your webinar that you kind of touch on but you don't lead with, but is actually something that you could talk about easily? What's the thing that if I asked you, hey, let's have a 30-minute conversation where we just flow, or you could just present and people are going to love it, whatever you say, what would you talk about? Like, if you could tell me something that you're super passionate about or that you'd love to talk about, and I had no idea and you'd love to just tell me about it, what would you tell me? What would you educate me on? What would you like to try together? I really want you to think about that going into this next week, month, whenever you're listening to this, is what am I not leaning into? And what do I need to lean more into? Or how is my fear of being seen holding me back? So if you loved this episode, it's going to do me a world of good if you can either review the podcast, so give me 5 stars on, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Tag me in it, tag me in stories so I can share it. Let me know in the DMs. I'd love to know if this clicked for you. And for those of you who are listening this in real time, I've just launched an Instagram channel called Clarity Collective Chats. For those of you who are new here, I haven't really talked much about it, but I am launching a brand new program called Clarity Collective, and I'm actually closing all of my other programs in Savasana Collective. So that is coming. So if you want to get into my current programs, now is the time, but Clarity Collective is coming. And I'm so excited for it. I have had a real energetic shift because I'm not letting go. There's some big personal things that I'm not yet ready to talk about, but they're happening in my life, and it's shifting everything for me. And I'm ready to be seen. And I'm ready to go do karaoke. You remember that I said there's always something that you wanted to try? The last time I did karaoke was maybe when I was like 19, and I'm well into my 30s, and I've not yet done that since. So that's my goal. Is one of the things I'm going to do that I've sort of not been leaning into because people in my life were going to make fun of me or said that was stupid, or why do you want to do that? Or they're just awkward around people singing. I'm going to go do it. So anyway, that's just part of it. But connect with me on Instagram. Come be part of the Clarity Collective chats, where it's almost going to be like a mini prompt from this episode. I'm going to pull something out and just go, hey, let's think about this for the week. And let yourself set some regular rituals in life, because that's what makes life so meaningful. All right. Thank you again, beautiful soul. I will see you in the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.